Hey everyone, welcome to the ATYL live stream on a Tuesday night. I got to get used to saying Tuesday during the off season, but good to see you all rolling in. Hopefully you're having a really good start to your week. Of course, joined by most of the ATYL live crew. We got Adam Lucas, Rob Branding, and Dom Joseph here. You all know we have a special guest for this stream too. Pre-recorded interview that Adam and I did earlier today with Parker Kligerman, announced his news that he's going to be in the CW booth for the Xfinity series. We'll talk way more about the CW booth for that series later in the show. Talked about his Rolex 24 run and so much more. So we'll get right into that interview so you guys can hear what Parker had to say. And then afterwards, we'll meet you right here to chat some more NASCAR news. Cool. And if you guys have any questions for us, any topics you want to talk about while we get into the NASCAR news, just use hashtag AskATYL so we can see it pretty clearly. But I'll start to fade us out of the stream and we'll get right into talking with Parker. Hey, Parker, thanks so much for joining us here on the ATYL Media channel. We appreciate your time and talking about a bunch of news that you've had announced this past, I guess, few weeks. A lot of exciting stuff. So we're looking forward to chatting with you.
Absolutely. It's been a very interesting off season, one of the more unique ones I've ever had in my life. But it has, I'm ticking off all sorts of boxes. Going to do the Rolex 24, which has been a dream of mine for as long as I can remember, to be honest. Since I was about 16 or 17 years old, and I saw. Actually, I would have been younger than this. I would have been like 13 or 14. I saw Colin Brown and a bunch of other 16-year-olds do the Rolex 24. I was like, I'm going to do that race one day. And every year for the past 15 years, I've been close or like been in talks, and one thing would lead to another, and then it would fall apart or whatever. But finally, with the help of Scott Borchetta and Spike Coolers, we made it happen. We're going to be driving the Forte Lamborghini, which is just so cool. Absolute dream come true. And then on the NASCAR side, it just announced today, going to be in the booth for CW, the Xfinity Series with Jamie McMurray and Adam Alexander. And I'm very excited about that. All my time in the pits, I feel like I've, through osmosis, learned a lot about what it takes to be in the booth. I've gotten to do it like once or twice. But I hope to bring a unique point of view up there and really dive into that. And just, it's so cool to see Xfinity getting this stage on the CW 33 weeks on network television. To me, this is one of the coolest series in all of motorsports. And so I can't wait to kind of bring that enthusiasm and excitement to all the fans.
And with that news about you being in the CW, is that something you had in mind when you decided to step away from full-time racing for the Xfinity series, or were there irons in the fire for that?
Oh, well, that would be weird if that was the case. That I happen to have known these things existed and were out there, and there was possibility of it happening. Of course, right? I think that nothing was formal, but it was definitely informal. A possibility, and so it still was a tough decision in terms of stepping back from driving full time after I'd worked so hard to get there, and how much I enjoyed working with Scott and Big Machine Racing. But an opportunity like this, through all the things I've done through my career of driving and doing TV, it just felt like, hey, this is sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity to make that leap and really commit to the TV side. And so, I didn't know if it for sure would happen, but I'm very glad it has. And I think so highly of Adam Alexander and Jamie McMurray, who are two of the best. And I was looking for it the other day, but I know I tweeted the first time that Jamie McMurray did like a booth session and a practice session in Cup, whatever. And I was like, man, this is the best guy in the game. Now I'm going to be working with him. So I got to find that tweet at some point. But yeah, no, this is something I've wanted to do. I didn't know if it would ever have been a possibility, when you looked at the way things were in the TV world, if I could have had the results and the pedigree to get an opportunity like this. But I feel like in the last couple of years, I've really risen my profile in the sport and showed my commitment to it. And obviously, with all the new TV partners, there was an opportunity there, and I'm glad it came together.
And you talked about all of your, media experience and even to the driving experience, but you've brought that to your show, The Money Lap. How crucial has that been in not only just growing your brand and who you are in the sport, but how fun has that been to work with, Landon Castle and be able to talk about the sport with your audience every single week?
Yeah,
Calm setting,
it is. It's great. And it's really just a conversation. It's similar to talking to you here, Taylor. Like to me, those are the types of things that podcast and modern day media allows, which is a far more informal conversation of two people that happen to be talking about the thing you like, and you get to be a fly on the wall for it, right? And Landon and I have those same conversations you hear on Money Lap. We would just normally do it on a call at 7 a.m. As he's taking his kids to school or something, and I'm awaking and having a first cup of coffee and trying to get through the hangover the night before. No, I'm just kidding. But that's what it stemmed from, was like, hey, should we just record these? And I know everyone says that about a podcast. We should have a podcast. And it's like, yeah, I get that. But we did feel like we are two individuals who have had a unique path and unique time in the sport, and have a unique point of view that we're not afraid to share, and we're not afraid to, be opinionated and to, maybe not follow the river or the path everyone else is. And so it just was natural, and it's been a lot of fun. I wish it would grow faster. That's one of my frustrations. I think everyone in modern media has that same frustration of, man, if more people just listen to this, I know we'd be more popular. And it's like, well, no way, man. Like, no damn, no. Of course, Sherlock. But no, it's been really cool, and I've enjoyed seeing the reaction to it and seeing where it's going. And we commit, the coolest part for us, and you'll know this, it's so tough when you say this sort of things, like we were like, all right, we're going to do a podcast, and we're going to do it at least 40 weeks the first year and 40 weeks the second. And we got done with this past year. I was like, man, we hit 50 weeks almost each year combined. And I was like, we said we would do this, and we did it. We never stopped. And that's been really cool, just to commit to something and keep going. So we're gonna bring it back. We're probably looking at, we haven't really put this out there, but I don't mind saying it. We're probably looking at the week after the Rolex. It's just with the Rolex, normally would have come back this week. Just with the Rolex, my schedule has been a mess. So it probably makes most sense to be after the Rolex that we'll dive back into Money Lap season 3.
Awesome. And bringing it back to the Rolex too. Speaking of that, how cool is it to just drive a Lamborghini? Like, isn't that just neat at Daytona? Like, come on.
It's surreal is the best way to put it. I mean, so we get down there for the test, and I just kept sitting there like, am I going to drive this thing? Like, they're going to let me drive this. Is that what's happening here? And I hear it firing up. There's a V10 in the back, Italian V10, which I'm a huge car nut. So like this to me is just some of the coolest forms of racing, because there's so many cool cars and so many different sounds, and they all have different propulsion systems and that sort of thing. And so, but the Lamborghini is one of the best sounding. And I'm like, all right, this is how is this actually happening right now? And then I got in it and got up to speed pretty quickly. And I almost surprised myself, but I had a lot of help. Mario Farnbacher, who's the pro at Forte, Misha Goikberg, who's an incredible amateur driver, one of the fastest probably AMs out there. And then Bob Perona, who's their driver coach, who was my driver coach for many years. He was my manager for many years. He helped put all this together. They got me up to speed really quickly. And, at the end of the day, people wonder about race cars in terms of like, how different is it? And the best thing I can explain for a stock car driver jumping into a sports car like this is that, at the end of the day, it's still a car with 4 wheels and an engine. So it generally follows the same parameters. It has pedals, it has a steering wheel, but what it takes to extract speed out of it is entirely different. And one of the things they have in these cars is a lot of electronic aids in terms of traction control, ABS, and the braking is so funny. I'll tell you a funny story. So we get down there, and the whole time they told me, braking is going to be your biggest task, because when you go to something that has tons of downforce and then it has ABS, what we're used to as being our full amount of brake in a stock car is around 1,250 pounds of pressure. In this car, you've got to be able to get to 2,000 pounds of pressure. So it's basically doubling what we've ever done in stock cars. And that sounds rudimentary, but when you really break it down, it's tricking your brain that for the last 15 years, the hardest you'd ever hit a brake in a moment into a hairpin corner at Coda in a stock car, now double that. And now you have to do it within probably less than a tenth of a second. So that's been a tall task for me. When we got done with the test, though, we looked at all the data, and my peak pressure in the car, even though I went fast, I was able to create lap time. My peak pressure, brake pressure, was 1,250 pounds. So I've got some work to do. I basically my brain and my body knows 1,250 pounds really well. It's still trying to explore what's beyond that, but that's just one small fraction of it. There's all the systems inside the car you have to learn. And because it's less about the team making adjustments and more about you in the car adjusting traction control, ABS, all these systems, bunch of acronyms that I'm not going to dive even further into, but I sound like a financial trader with all the acronyms. It seems like CPI, and it's like, what is this guy on to do? Yeah, so it's a ton to learn, but I've enjoyed every season. It's just surreal going through the bend in the night, and I'm going through 3 and 4, NASCAR 3 and 4, and I look up and the moon is out, and I had a chance to look at the moon, and I was like, I've never driven through the banking of Daytona and had a chance to look at the moon. Normally, there's 38 idiots around me trying to wreck me, or trying to wreck, and I was like, holy, this is incredible. So it's just been a really cool experience.
So going with the sports car mantra now, have you been using a lot of, I guess, iRacing practice to kind of gear up and get yourself ready for Daytona?
Alrighty, so looks like we had some sort of technical glitch. Obviously, as you saw on the screen, after the live stream, I will make the full video live for you all to watch. So check out YouTube following this stream so you can make sure you see the entire Parker Kligerman segment. So kind of going with the original idea of, what we had to show part of the interview to tease it. And then hopefully you all check out the rest of that interview. Of course, later in the interview, he talks about him going on the CW for this year, teaming up with an incredible broadcast team, not only in the booth, but pit road and everything in between there. Of course, discussing more of the Rolex 24. And Adam actually really talked to him about, 2010. I know 2010 was a really interesting year for Parker Kligerman. It's like, what would your 2010 self say to you now? Kind of a retrospective on his career so far. He really is the guy that has done it all and continues to do it all and is going to continue to do it all this year, of course, too, also announcing some truck series races that he will run this year. So definitely a good teaser to the entire Parker Kligerman interview that you all can catch after this stream, and I will make sure to post it on all social media platforms. So a good teaser. Thank you again to Parker Kligerman for joining myself and Adam earlier today to talk about all of this news. We really appreciate him and all he does inside the car and, of course, in the media. So let's bring in the rest of the crew to kind of talk through some motorsports news, motorsports topics. Of course, if you want to discuss something, make sure to use the hashtag AskATYL, and we will make sure to look at the comments and see what you all want to discuss. So let me bring in the rest of the team: Adam, Lucas, Dom, Joseph, and of course, Rob Branning. Crew, hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can I just say, because Rob, I think this is your first show with us for 2025. The displays look great. Just have to say that.
Thank you.
So some new back there.
Yeah, just some photo stuff, some new additions to the collection. I don't know why my camera is not focusing.
That's okay.
But I'll figure it
night.
out. I'll figure it out.
You're doing great, buddy.
You're doing great. Hey, it's
Thanks.
your first show of 2025, so
Yep.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, let's start off by talking about the CW broadcast booth that was just announced. Some really exciting news. I mean, there was a lot of broadcast news I feel like announced today too. But in the booth for the CW, the Xfinity Series coverage this year, we have Adam Alexander, Jamie McMurray, and Parker Kligerman on pit road, Kim Kuhn, Dylan Welch, and then hosting a pre-race show called NASCAR Countdown Live will be Carla Gebhardt, and she's incredible. So overall, my thoughts are pretty clear. This is a really good team. I know a lot of them came from NBC, but some came from Fox as well. So a good mix. Adam, what are your thoughts on who we have kind of running this whole thing this year?
I love the booth. The booth is phenomenal. It's a breath of fresh air. It's good, fresh insights. Uh, I'm excited to hear Jamie Mack for every Xfinity race. That's gonna be
Mhm.
fun. So all in all, I'm very stoked, very excited, especially after talking to Parker today. That guy, he's always excited. He's always ready to go. He's always looking for the next best thing. And I think this is truly his true calling.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
100%. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right with Adam. I think Jamie McMurray is probably the one I'm most excited for. Ever since he started doing broadcast stuff, I've always hoped that he'd eventually get to the booth. So it's really cool to see him finally get the opportunity. And for the two of them to have Adam Alexander, I think is a huge deal.
Oh, 100%.
To have a seasoned veteran and a talent like him to kind of usher them into this new world is going to be a really big help to them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be one of the more exciting booths for the year.
And then Dom, what are your thoughts on the pit road cast that we have here with Dylan Welch, Kim Kuhn, and then even too bringing in another countdown to green type show for the CW?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's great. And, Dylan Welch and Kim Kuhn have already proven that they are very good at what they do, whether it be in the Cup Series or Dylan Welch doing a lot of IMSA as well. So, I mean, they are veteran pit reporters. They know how to deliver during pit stops, during the race, how to get the from behind the scenes, what's going on that pit wall during the race. So, I think they're excellent at that. And then, yeah, having a countdown to green show esque countdown to green esque. I mean, you got to have that. I mean, it's great to have leading into a race. You really don't want to just walk right into the show, as much as that's easy to do. A lot of people do just go right into the race and don't worry about the countdown show. But it's great to get those stories and whatnot, especially week one at Daytona when a lot of fans are coming out of the caves after a long off season. They don't know that the 8 font is back and they don't know who's in the new cars. So it's great.
Yeah, I think the strength of this booth and everyone that's in it, from not only just pit road, but to the actual booth itself, is they're all really good at telling stories. That's what you want. These are people that are in and out of the industry consistently, whether it's they're racing in NASCAR, whether it's, we're going to do something in IMSA, to just kind of stay within the motorsports groove, get storylines from all angles. Everyone here is so talented, and I think they hit a home run, and very excited for this for sure. More news to talk about too. Speaking of changes, let's talk about the NASCAR rulebook changes. They released an entire bulletin of overhaul of a lot of rules that needed overhauls.
Big changes.
Big changes. I wanted to go around to each of you and see if there were some rule changes that one of you wanted to point out for one reason or another that you are either glad changed, concerned with the change, or a new rule that was like, all right, this is kind of cool. Rob, did you have a chance to look at the new rules?
A little bit. I definitely like the DVP rule change. I think it makes things a lot more fair for these guys, that especially with this new car. I think a lot of guys have been screwed out of, better finishes because of this car's inability to move on flat tires. So I think it's a really well needed change. As far as the word's escaping me, the waiver rule.
Yes.
I think that's another good one. I think it gives a little bit more clarity to, how these guys qualify for the playoffs. I think it was Bob Pockrass mentioned that even though we got this massive announcement of like rule overhauls, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're done with reviewing rules. And which means, I feel like a broken record when I say this, but let's please get rid of winning you're in. Let's have the top 16 drivers and points. race for the championship, but that's, other than that, I'm excited to, see cars out there looking like modifieds again.
I was gonna say, I think the next gen finally needs baptized with a duct tape number on the side at Martinsville. I think that's what we need. I'm right there with you, Rob. I like that they're kind of keeping that door open, where it's like we might not be done yet. The one counter I would say to that, because we all are going to say this at some point this year, it's inevitable. Let's close the rule book at Daytona and then not open it again until the end of the season. Let's not keep editing it during season. But no, I like what they're doing. I think the one that I like the most, aside from those, is manufacturers are now being held accountable. So
that was
I think that's a big one. Right. As a Formula One fan, that's something that can make or break a season. If you are caught doing something, just ask McLaren. So, yeah, I think that's good to see. And then they just straight up changed the rule book to say like no more like gray areas, like don't manipulate a race. So it is black and white now. It's like if you try to manipulate the race, you are getting thrown out. So those are my big ones.
I'm looking forward to the OEP. Yeah, you know me, the open exemption provisional. I think it's going to be interesting going forward, and it's already going to be in play for Daytona with Project 91. So I guess how are we going to be able to decipher who is and who isn't part of the fancy provisional?
Yeah, right. Like who?
Like, is it just world-class people, or can like Hillbilly Joe from Lancaster Motor Speedway dirt track, and is he going to be part of that, or
is it like a rule for SRX?
I mean, my real thing with that is like, how often are you going to need it? We don't get, the Daytona 500 is the only race every year where we get more than 40 cars and
maybe a couple road courses.
Yeah.
Well, even if road courses, it's usually just 40. Like you just hit the
that is true. Like we're never really contesting with a DNQ.
No, this isn't. If we talked about this back in like the mid 2000s, this would be massive. It'd be the return of the champions provisional. But
when 60 would show up
yeah, I miss those days a lot. I miss those days a lot. But I mean, that it is an interesting, debate. It's like what qualifies this, because it's almost the same iteration of like who's the best driver in the world. Like how do you really quantify this? And I think it's going to vary depending on the race, depending on the track. So I mean, I'm trying to think of an example. So let's say Bowman Gray had a points paying race, and Burt Myers wanted to run a car. I would consider him to get that provisional.
Yeah,
because he's been a staple at that track. So I think there's a lot of factors that go outside talent.
Yeah.
Or accolades.
It might honestly come down more so to like what is your resume at that track alone.
Yeah.
And like
also, I mean, it's star
power. Not for the 500s. So
yeah, it's a personality hire too. It's you want star power, and people are gonna tune in if Helio Castroneves is racing in it. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with this. Again, like it's something that's gonna probably not be used a ton, but when it is, I think it's going to help out a lot. I think we've, correct me if I'm wrong, is this just a Cup Series rule, or does he?
Yes.
Okay, because that's the thing is like I feel like the other series would need it more than the Cup Series, because the Xfinity Series does get more than their field size, and so does a Truck Series.
I feel like they've been kind of lenient with the Truck Series of like making it a variable change of like how big the field is. Because like I remember it was 32 for like a minute, and then they went back to 36.
Yeah, I think they've had like
they let like 40 guys run.
Yeah, they had 40 during COVID and I get it because these guys pay so much money to go.
I mean, I wasn't complaining.
And no, I don't have an issue with it at all. I think the concept and the drama of knockout qualifying is great, but I also don't like the financial toll it is on the teams that don't make it. So I'd rather see everybody obviously like the modified tour, everybody that shows up makes a race. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting who else ends up getting this provisional.
Who do you think's next, Adam?
Who's next?
Who's next to get the provisional?
Ooh. Oh man. I know it's not going to happen, but it'd be cool to see Joseph Newgarden.
I'm thinking my theory is maybe Ricardo at Coda.
That was my thought too. That was my thought too.
In the Project 91 car.
Yeah, in a Project 91. So he could drive a Chevy at Coda.
Is that the only Project open car that we have now? Because obviously the 60's full time. I don't know if 2311 is going to do it now that they're three cars.
There you have the third car now.
Oh, that's true. I mean, you never pass up the chance to make money, though.
No, I mean the closest thing's maybe RCR.
Yeah, RCR.
But RCR seems to just be a seat for Austin Hill.
And
there's a guy from Supercars. Is it Will Brown?
That's it. I was thinking Cam Waters. He was with
him or
he was with RFK.
Brody Kostecki drove the 33 2 years ago.
Yeah, one of those two said they're going to run a few. I believe with RCR, probably Sonoma more than likely. But so it should be interesting. John just brought.
Is she back?
You guys are doing so good.
John brought up a really good point.
We didn't mention the Busch Series once. You got to be
proud of you guys. Yeah,
we had our hats ready.
We didn't go rogue.
We didn't go rogue. I'm so
this hat is a flex fit. It will not look right backwards.
You know what? I respect that.
Rob, you're a gentleman and a scholar.
Bravo.
Promote the mods.
Bravo. But you guys were saying John brought up a point, which is, where's the Busch Series podcast? Is that where we were going?
That's kind of what I was alluding to.
Yeah,
but then you came to
he made a good point.
In the nick of time.
He made a good point.
Saved you guys.
See, I didn't know how long you were going to be gone, so I was like, we need to keep this train on the track as long as possible. I mean, we're on fumes now. We're going to run out of fuel eventually, but
you guys did incredible. Yeah. For context, technical difficulties tonight. My laptop, or I guess my desktop monitor, decided to just crash out of nowhere. But we're good and we're fine. And we're talking about NASCAR. But again, at some point this year, as we're expanding our shows, it feels inevitable. It really does. Busch Series podcast. How many years in the making, gentlemen? Like what? 3 at this point?
Three, I think.
3 years in the making.
So it's been a bit. So eventually we will get to that. But yeah, lots of
for better or for worse.
For better or for worse. I think at this point, for better. Give the people what they want, right?
Yeah.
So,
it's like driving on ice.
Yeah.
Would I be out here? No. Am I having fun? Yes.
This is true. Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah. Talking about, lots of junior motorsports stuff. There's so much goodness. Yeah. Oh, John, if Taylor leaves the live stream when I'm on, I will want to talk about the Busch Series 100%. Yeah. At some point, we will pay homage to the Busch Series yet again. At some point. Speaking of Daytona 500 stuff, just bringing this up because, this was kind of on Twitter, all over social media. But Junior Motorsports has an announcement that may or may not be related to the Daytona 500 tomorrow. They released, and several different journalists, content creators, whatever, kind of, spread the word about that. So keep, your eyes peeled for a potential announcement from Junior Motorsports. We don't know anything beyond
what
that.
Do you think it is?
Ooh.
So I'm trying to connect the dots here. Now, this is news I don't know about. Shockingly, I don't know about this. My thought process was the Martin Truex Jr. Foundation made a post yesterday saying, hey, you have the chance to be on Martin's Daytona 500 car. And then conveniently the day after, it's, hey, Junior Motorsports has an announcement to make, and then Adam Stern specifies that it's related to the Daytona 500. So my thing is reunion.
Chance 2 is coming back.
So obviously not confirmed, but this is a hunch. Rob,
What car is the all-star car now for Junior Motorsports?
the 9.
The 9.
The
Yeah.
9.
Who's in the 1? Oh, that's Carson, right?
Carson Quapple.
Yeah.
Okay. That was another random question. I'm looking at it here, and I'm looking at their Twitter. I'm thinking they're just gonna reveal the paint scheme for Carson Quapple's 1 car.
Could be.
They've been hinting at they love orange, so it's probably a Bass Pro collab.
Because my thing was it sounds Bass Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it might just be the one car.
Or Carson and Truex are both going to have Bass Pro cars at Daytona.
Ooh.
What do you do? Drive the 81?
I would.
This is true.
That's all.
Could you? Did they? Is that trademark up? Is anybody holding that 81?
You could pair those two You could pair those 2 numbers. You could pair the 8 and the 1.
That's true.
You could.
Yeah.
You'd have to probably skinny it up a little bit, but
that's true.
you could.
You
Yeah,
have a point.
it would look fine.
It's been 21 years since Truex ran the 81 Bass Pro.
Yeah,
car
we're already
at Daytona.
we're already in like a variation of the 8. Like the 8 font itself is there, but it doesn't have a stroke on it. At least not in the schemes that I've seen other than Junior's late model. And it doesn't have the drop shadow. So it's already in a, new iteration. So why not just do that with the 81?
That's true.
Yeah.
Valid. Valid. All right. Yeah, you're welcome. I just want to make sure you knew that point was valid. It was a valid point. We're running on fumes today, folks. Running on fumes. I guess I was gonna transition into this topic, and then it was gonna be a harsh transition, so I decided not to. But Daytona 500. Speaking of that, one driver's Daytona 500 dreams crashed and burned yesterday after an announcement that Mike Wallace is not eligible to compete in the Daytona 500, according to NASCAR. And a statement released by them, it was, hey, he hasn't been on an intermediate track or above in 15 years. No, but according to Mike Wallace, he had in his words, quote, real phone call with Steve Phelps, where Steve Phelps basically confirmed to him, like, hey, can't wait to see you at Daytona. Congrats. Awesome. But according to Mike Wallace, Steve O'Donnell got on the phone with him yesterday and was like, hey, you're not approved. They did say that they could work on getting him potentially approved for running some sort of racing in 2026, but obviously the 500 just didn't work. So, yeah, thoughts on that?
Go ahead, Adam.
I like opportunities, but I also can understand why. It's been a long time since Mike has been in a cup car or even on a active track. What was the last time? Was during COVID for JD Motorsports?
I couldn't even tell you.
I don't even know. That's how long it's been. So, I mean, I understand where NASCAR is coming from. But when you look at other things like giving approval to drivers who have never even stepped foot in a stock car, especially in recent years, and they get the okay to just go ahead and go out and do their thing. It's kind of a toss up for me. I understand where they're coming from, but then you look at other drivers in the most recent past who have been getting that. Oh yeah, you're okay. You can go ahead and run it. So it's kind of murky for me.
Yep. My thing with this all, because Mike did do an interview last night with another content creator hosting the Late Lap, and he was kind of saying how he felt it was unfair that, Elio gets a provisional because he's determined as a world-class driver. However, he, who has over 11 Daytona 500s run and multiple super speedway races, does not. There's obvious reasons as to why, but I get the frustration.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Like I'm with Adam on it. It's a toss up because it's like, I think when it really comes down to it, no, it's not that fair. But I'm also thinking about, like, we've seen Derek Cope. Like,
yeah,
we've seen older drivers go on that track and it just be unsafe. And correct me if I'm wrong, when that Derek Cope thing happened at the duel, he had been running. He had at least ran a cup race in the last 3 years. So like I get it, and you make this whole plan. You're running the Daytona 500, and you set up this whole thing. I read his post, and it's like it's really sad. And my thing with it is like it's sad. That has no that should have no influence on your ability to run the race. So while I think venting about this whole thing is valid, I think including that doesn't really have anything to do with the decision being made. My other thing about this is we've seen Mike Wallace do well in the Daytona 500. We've seen him finish top 5. What do you really think was going to happen this year? Like you're in the Carl Long-owned 66 car. Like I get the making the attempt. It feels dramatic. It feels dramatic is, I guess, my word.
I would say from that standpoint too. I mean, this event meant a lot to him, right? He wrote in his post, personal reasons, how it was, running in the Daytona 500 was a way to honor his wife, was a way to kind of, show, hey, to the fans, I'm still racing, I'm still here, I can still compete. Obviously, from my standpoint, it was a huge miscommunication between NASCAR and BM Motorsports, and Mike, and I really do feel for him, like you said, Rob. I mean, it sucks, and obviously we're weighing both sides here. We don't like to go one way or the other with news or opinions or things like that. We like to balance both here. And both standpoints of being incredibly frustrated with NASCAR of not letting him know until just weeks before the event, when sponsorship is already done, the car is probably close to finished. He probably had to pay for a new fire suit, Hans device, helmet, just to be up to code. Like, that's not something you can definitely get back. I mean, he does have the opportunity. NASCAR did say, hey, by the way, we saw a request in for the Cup Series races, but nothing in for Xfinity or Truck, which if he's going to want to work his way back into the system, he's going to have to start from the ground up if this is what he wants to do. But again, you think about all these safety equipments, and sometimes year after year they go out of date, and then you have to buy new ones. So it's a huge financial and emotional investment to try to run the Daytona 500 for a driver. So I do feel really bad for him, but I do understand it from all perspectives. So hopefully we get to see him continue.
Yeah, I hope he gets something somewhere, because this really was an unfair situation for him, and I don't want to give off the idea that I'm like,
100%.
Crapping on the guy. I get, like, again, like Adam said, like I get where the decision is coming from, but you've got to say that up front. Like there was no reason to wait this long to notify him. Again, massive miscue. Something somewhere fell through the cracks, and it just, created a mess.
Yeah, I agree. It's a shame that it comes down to the 11th hour, it seems, that he finds out, oh yeah, you're not allowed to do this. What do you mean I'm not allowed to do this? Well, it's the rule. It's like, I didn't know this was the rule because you said I was good. So yeah. And then to add insult to injury, they make a new rule that guarantees not him in the Daytona 500. So yeah, that hurts.
from Mike's standpoint, he was like, more power to him when talking about LEO and world class. And I get, then you look back to say, well, does NASCAR need to define what world class driver is in the rulebook? Is it somebody who has extensive experience in NASCAR? Is it somebody who has extensive experience, period? Is it somebody who brings in big eyes, big following? Like, now, I don't think that's something that's necessarily needs to be explained maybe to us, but to a racer that's like, you know what? I think I could probably get a provisional based on my experience or stuff, and then finds out they can't. They're going to need to know the specifications of what that world class is. And of course, like I said, NASCAR just changed the rule book, other things to consider, but ultimately, I don't think they have to do that. I think they just need to communicate beforehand, like Dom said, like we just mentioned. Somewhere, somehow, somebody majorly dropped the ball, and that's not fair to them. So we will see how this proceeds. I do want to talk more about the Daytona 500 in the sense that we did have an announcement from Anthony Alfredo. He had 2 announcements this week. One, that he is going to return to the number 62 for Beer Motorsports to attempt to run in the Great American Race this year. So very excited to see him back with them. And of course, announcing he's going to be full-time in the Xfinity Series with Young's Motorsport. Excited for him for that, right? He had a great Xfinity Series season last year. And having this opportunity with Young's is, I think, great. Adam, I think you and I a lot last year talked about Anthony Alfredo at some point, or like during the live streams. I think it was like you and me that were like, Anthony's like really good. And like, hopefully, he continues the opportunity. Then he was out of the seat. We're like, oh, well, no clue where he's going to go. So I guess continuing on that streak of talking about Anthony Alfredo and how we hope he succeeds. What do you feel about him in this new ride?
I think it's another good opportunity to be able to show his talent in not top tier equipment,
right?
And just continue to build on those results and basically up the game for Young's Motorsports in 2025. So yeah, opportunity comes knocking. Once again, another great opportunity running in Cup with Beard. They're always consistent at those super speedways.
They really are.
If they're not in the front, then someone has flipped them in turn 3 at Talladega. R.I.P. Brendan Gaughan. But yeah, no, in all honesty, I think it's a great opportunity for him.
It keeps him in the Xfinity Series, and that's the one good thing. He's got Dude Wipes as a pretty consistent sponsor too. So I'm waiting. I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. But no, I think it's good for him. I was really worried about what was going to happen. I was worried that something might not come up and he would be out. So it's great. And I mean, Young's Motorsports has proven that, I mean, they can stay consistent, and Anthony Alfredo has proven that he can make a team better. So I think there are good things ahead for Young's Motorsports and that 42 car. And it's good to have good sponsorship going in with you too. So it's not like you're going in on the hopes and dreams that he'll be competitive, but I mean, he's got the talent, and there are sponsors that have seen that too and have said, hey, we want to go with this guy. So let's do it.
Yeah, I think it's a massive gift for Young's Motorsports. Obviously, Anthony Alfredo, like you guys said, great driver, consistent sponsorship, and just, always outperforming the equipment he's in. And I think sometimes we forget how still young of a, ironically enough, no pun intended, young of a team Young's Motorsports is in the Xfinity Series. So I think Anthony is coming in a great time for them. And I would guess their equipment will be, another level up this year. And I think it's a great time to bring in, somebody that has talent, has consistency, and overall just kind of fits the vibe and the direction your team's going in. So yeah, I think I look forward to seeing that. I would not be surprised to see them consistently running in the top 10, especially on the super speedways. Maybe on the intermediates and short tracks, top 20 is probably the goal. But I think especially the super speedways, they're going to be competitive. I mean, it's a team that finished second at Talladega last year. So yeah, I'm excited for both of them.
Yeah, this should be a good move for all parties involved. Anthony, again, is somebody who continues to elevate equipment, and which we saw last year, and I think we're going to see this coming year for him. So very excited for all he has in store. And of course, we're going to preview the Daytona 500, the week of the 500 on this show, and we're going to be introducing some new segments to our live streams as the season kicks off, incorporating some of the other ATYL media crew as well. We're going to have a new point system just so you guys can keep out for that. I know you guys, some of you really do look forward to looking at our points system that we have in our championship and stuff like that. So we are forming that with the entire ATYL media team, which is going to be extensive, and Adam is going to be running it. So he has some ideas. He's
How is Dom going to lose it this year?
I was going to say it's going to be tough because there's going to be like 10 or 11 of us in this. So place your bets now. Who's going to win it? You never know.
Place your bets who's going to fail.
I know. Place your bets on who's going to be the first.
I won one race last year.
This is true.
I won one race, and it was the race I worked. So you know what? If I'm going to win one race, I want it to be New Hampshire.
So, Rob, this means you have to go to every single race next year, and then you're a shoe in the Wild Championship. That's just it, right?
Right now, as far as the Cup Series goes, New Hampshire's the only race on the schedule.
I like this idea. I start with a 300-point advantage. I like that. I'm in for it.
Well,
you're consistently top
so
two.
last
season,
about? You won like the first 5 races, so like,
yeah,
we didn't know what the hell we were doing. Apparently,
no, we did, and then I completely fell off a cliff. I really dropped the ball when the playoffs started.
I've won. Now I'll go on record. I've won every Bristol race, including dirt, for like the last 2.5 years.
This is true.
Yeah.
I think you found the perfect strategy of just pick Denny Hamlin every time.
I want to also say I always win with Christopher Bell.
This is true as well.
That is true.
You all have found your individual strategies.
I either win with Bell or Byron.
The 2 Bs.
I tried 2 different strategies, and I'm going to strategy A this year.
Which,
and if you remember,
possibly fail.
If you remember what strategy A was, you know what my picks are going to be.
Oh no! Everyone, get ready for a Toyota-thon.
It's Toyota-thon for Dom, y'all.
The
stats lied to him, so he's going back to Toyota.
The stats did lie to me.
The stats did lie. We're also, by the way, changing all of our stats.
Speaking of Dom's incompetence.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. By the way, the stats last year, y'all were a little too harsh on Dom. I just want to say this. He put a lot of effort.
Was a little too harsh on Dom.
He put a lot of effort into the stats. Is it the perfect top 10? No. But this year we were refining this, and Dom has a foolproof plan of getting you all the best stats. He does. He does.
Get out of here.
Don't worry, he does. And so new graphics this year, new stats, new information for you to go into the race weekend feeling confident. We're also going to be talking about weather going into the race weekend. So more to be announced in time when the Daytona 500 week hits. But that is it for our show, everybody. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Of course, remember that Parker Kligerman full interview from Parker Kligerman is going to be out later tonight or early tomorrow. So make sure you turn on the notification bell on YouTube so you know when we post it. Of course, you guys are wondering in the comments, hey, what are those stands that you have? And great question. I love this question. Because
we're asking about mine, Taylor.
Oh,
that's a good point. He has a point.
Not to interrupt your plug.
Well, not to interrupt.
So I didn't know you were segueing.
No, I'm segueing. I'm going to segue into like a different display case, but like we're going to have more conversation and more videos about Rob's displays. Rob, I haven't talked to you about this, but I'd like to do this because you have such cool display ideas. We're doing this on the fly, you guys. What a show tonight. But if you want displays like mine in the background, Benzik Designs, the official display partner of ATYL Media. If you click the link in the description, use the promo code ATYL2025, you get 20% off your diecast stands. I will say, Matt Benzik is making me the coolest car display in the entire world. I sent a picture to the guys yesterday. It should be done maybe by the end of the month. I don't know, but I cannot wait. You guys are going to flip. It is pretty dope. It is dope. But yeah, we will get you all more information about more of Rob's displays, how he displays his cars, and all those things. So, of course, thank you to our partners. Go Locker Racing, The Brett Mentality, On Brand, and Benzik Designs for partnering with us this season. And of course, we will have some more partnership announcements coming out very, very soon. So stick around for that too. And of course, like I said, turn on the notification bell so you know when we post on YouTube, especially that full Parker Kligerman interview. It's one you do not want to miss. Again, we appreciate his time. But yeah, that does it for this off the rails episode of ATYL Media. We will come back next week better and stronger on our end from the technology standpoint. But thank you all so much for supporting us. We appreciate everything from watching the content, from following us to chatting along in the comments. We really do appreciate it very, very much. For myself, Rob, Dom, and Adam,